Lenovo took a second bite at the apple, pun intended, with the ThinkPad X1 Extreme Gen 2. But as far as we're concerned, it's really just more of the same. Lenovo didn't make any major changes to the design. Its sleek, thin, and lightweight chassis remains the best presentation of their iconic ThinkPad aesthetic. You're probably familiar with the look by now, but let's take a minute to go over the basics. Open the lid and you'll find the signature red ThinkPad trim on the touchpad buttons and pointing stick. There's more branding on the deck and display bezels, but it's all discreet and doesn't really take away from the laptop's stealthy, minimalist vibe. New to this year's model is a carbon fiber weave on the lid. This same pattern was introduced on the latest ThinkPad X1 Carbon and gives the laptop an aggressive edge, similar to the carbon fiber decals you'll see on sports cars. As good as it looks, there is room for improvement. For one, it hasn't embraced thin display bezels like other premium laptops have done. You'll notice the bottom bezel is especially chunky and detracts from the otherwise streamlined design. I also would like to see a more pronounced fingerprint sensor and power button on the deck. As always, the keyboards are the best in the business with ThinkPads. The Extreme's gently scalloped keys hug your fingertips, and their generous travel feels deeper than anything else we've tried. Under the keyboard is the touchpad, which is smaller than those on most 15-inch laptops. I didn't mind the smaller size because the square-shaped surface has enough vertical and horizontal space to execute Windows 10 gestures. The 15.6-inch 4K HDR display on the ThinkPad X1 Extreme is colorful, bright, and sharp. The anti-glare panel might not have the same picture quality as the new OLED display options, but it's an excellent choice for business users or content creators who get annoyed by reflections. On the right side, you've got two Thunderbolt 3 ports, an HDMI 2.0 input, and an RJ45 Ethernet dongle, which unfortunately requires an adapter. On the left, you'll see two USB 3.1 ports, an SD card reader, a Kensington lock, and an optional smart card reader. On the inside, this laptop has an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650 Max-Q graphics chip with 4 GB of RAM, which is a big upgrade over an integrated graphics card. When it comes to performance, I threw everything I could at this thing, but the Core i7 9850H CPU and 32 GB inside of it didn't break a sweat. Apart from its disappointing battery life, which is just 5 hours and 28 minutes by the way, the ThinkPad X1 Extreme Gen 2 is an almost perfect laptop for content creators and business users. It looks great, feels great, and is surprisingly durable yet portable. And while we still recommend Dell's XPS 15 over this model because of the longer battery life and the lower price, the second gen ThinkPad X1 Extreme is an excellent laptop.